The movie starts in Japan with a student named Takahata. He stood out among his classmates because he was very smart, but due to his intelligence, he often felt bored with life and wished for a challenge to bring some excitement. His wish suddenly comes true while he's in class. As the teacher is writing on the board, his head suddenly explodes, and in its place appears a strange toy called Daruma, which starts talking. This toy challenges the students to a deadly game. If Daruma turns its face toward the students and sees anyone move, that student's head will explode instantly. But when Daruma turns its back, the students are free to move. As Daruma turns around and catches a student moving, it kills him. Anyone who panics and runs also dies immediately. The toy keeps repeating its name, and the remaining students are paralyzed with fear, wondering what to do. Every time Daruma kills a student, small red balls come out of their bodies. Two students try to escape by running toward the door while Daruma's back is turned, but they find it locked. As Daruma turns again, it kills both of them. The class erupts in screams of terror, but one student named Sakaki tries to calm everyone down. He tells them he knows this game. It's the Daruma game, and they're trapped until it kills them all. However, there's a button on Daruma's back, and if someone presses it, the challenge ends. One student makes a risky move, trying to press the button, but Daruma senses it, quickly turns around, and kills him. This reveals Daruma's strategy. It speaks slowly to trick the students, but when it senses movement, it turns quickly. The students notice a timer on Daruma's back. They have just 1 minute, and if it runs out, they'll all die. They rush toward Daruma, trying to reach the button, but some slip on the red balls on the floor and get killed as Daruma turns. The classroom is soon full of corpses and only 10 seconds remain. The only two students left are Takahata and Sakaki. They come up with a plan. Sakaki crouches down, and Takahata uses his back to jump and reach the button. In the final second, Takahata succeeds and hits the button. Daruma falls over, frustrated that it lost the challenge. Takahata and Sakaki celebrate surviving, but suddenly, Sakaki's head explodes. Daruma tells Takahata that only the person who presses the button wins the challenge. Takahata is stunned. Daruma also tells him the cat is coming next, hinting at the next game. Suddenly, the classroom door opens, and Takahata's friend Ichika appears, clearly in shock. Takahata rushes to her, asking if she's okay. Ichika explains she also went through a Daruma challenge, and when she pressed the button, all her classmates died. Takahata says the same happened to him and suggests they call the police. But when he checks his phone, there's no signal. They try to run out of the school, but all the doors are locked and even the windows can't be broken. Eventually, they find one door that opens and leads to the gym. As soon as they enter, the door slams shut behind them. They're trapped again, but they're not alone. Other students are there, some dressed in mouse costumes. Takahata realizes this is a new challenge. On the floor, it says, "Put the ball in the basket to win." Suddenly, the ground shakes, and a giant cat statue appears. It immediately eats one of the students in a mouse costume and starts chasing others in similar outfits. This game is even harder than the last one. Students run in fear as the cat heads toward Takahata and Ichika, but doesn't eat them because they're not wearing mouse costumes. Ichika spots a ball rolling on the floor, and Takahata sees a hoop on the giant cat's body. He realizes the goal is to throw the ball into the hoop. He tells the others, and a skilled basketball player asks Ichika to pass him the ball. He throws it, and it's about to go in, but the cat blocks it, grabs the ball, and throws it back with such force that the player crashes into a wall and dies. The cat then looks at Takahata but doesn't eat him, focusing only on students wearing mouse costumes. Takahata figures this out and warns everyone to take off the costumes. They do and think they're now safe. But suddenly, the cat starts moving again and begins eating anyone, costume or not. Students run in terror across the gym. Ichika finds the ball near her and sees there's a countdown on it with only 3 minutes left. The cat approaches her to eat her, and when Takahata sees his friend in danger, he quickly puts on a mouse costume to distract the cat. The cat chases Takahata instead, giving Ichika a chance to escape. Takahata keeps dodging the cat, running left and right, and begs someone to throw him the ball, but everyone is too scared after what happened to the basketball player. Suddenly, Takahata starts hearing strange sounds. Because he's wearing the mouse costume, he can now understand what the cat is saying. It turns out, the cat just wants someone to scratch its back so it can sleep. After Takahata understood what the cat wanted, he climbed onto its back, grabbed the rope, and began scratching the cat's back. As he did this, the cat relaxed and stopped attacking anyone. It seemed to enjoy the attention and wanted Takahata to keep scratching. He called on the other students to come and help him. Ichika joined in to assist, and when the rest of the students saw that this action worked, they also climbed onto the cat's back and copied Takahata. As a result, the cat gradually fell asleep, and eventually, it was completely asleep. Takahata grabbed the ball and got ready to throw it into the basket. But suddenly, all the students rushed toward him, each one wanting to be the one to throw the ball. They feared that only the person who made the shot would survive, so they began arguing and fighting over who should throw it. Their loud voices woke the cat, which immediately lashed out with its claws and killed 2 of the students. Takahata realized there was no time to try to put the cat back to sleep again. He quickly came up with a clever plan. He took a torn basketball and asked Ichika to grab the cat's special ball and go into the changing room to disguise it. A few moments later, the 2 returned, each carrying a ball wrapped in the mouse costume fabric. They approached the cat from opposite sides, causing confusion. The cat didn't know which ball was the real one, but Takahata accidentally revealed that he was holding an ordinary basketball, and the cat figured out that Ichika had the real one. It blocked her throw, just as Takahata had planned. While the cat was distracted by Ichika's ball, Takahata threw his ball, which turned out to contain the real cat ball inside it. Unfortunately, the ball didn't go into the basket, and everyone thought they had lost the challenge. But suddenly another student appeared from behind the cat, a boy named Amaya. He jumped and made the shot in the final second. The ball landed in the basket, and the cat completely stopped, announcing the end of the game. Moments later, it reactivated and declared the winners, Takahata, Ichika, and Amaya. No other names were mentioned. Takahata was confused and wondered what would happen to the rest of the students. Suddenly, Amaya began killing all the students who had lost. He was clearly insane and believed in a world where only the strong deserved to live. He approached Takahata and Ichika, saying that since they were the winners, they were the only ones who deserved to survive. Ichika called him crazy and said he shouldn't compare himself to them. Amaya was angered by this and moved toward her, but Takahata stepped in and stopped him. Then, the cat sprayed a white mist, and all 3 of them vanished. The news began to report that similar challenges were happening in schools all around the world. Over 10 million students had died, and broadcasters were trying to cover up the disappearances. Some journalists claimed the events were caused by aliens. Massive floating cubes had appeared in the sky, and inside the Japanese cube, Takahata found himself, along with a girl he recognized from another school, his old friend Tokusa. They had once been in a relationship. Alongside Tokusa were 2 other students from different schools, Tiara and Taka. All 3 had survived both the Daruma and Cat challenges in their schools. Takahata noticed something odd. All the students in this new place had names that started with the letter T. He assumed that the survivors were being grouped into different factions based on the first letter of their names. He began to worry that Ichika and Amaya might be in the same group because their names started with the same letter. However, the door to the group he was in was locked, so there was nothing he could do. He started banging on the door, hoping someone might hear him. He was interrupted by a student named Tiara, who was incredibly smart and arrogant. Tiara told him that no one would come to help them, and showed him a 3D projection of the news coverage about the ongoing events. Takahata realized he was now inside one of the floating cubes that had appeared around the world. Tiara explained that they were trapped there, and had no choice but to wait for the next challenge. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door, and 4 strange floating puppets entered the room. They announced that it was time for the 3rd challenge, and it would be even harder than the previous ones. One of the puppets asked Tiara to be the first to play. Overconfident in his abilities, Tiara agreed. The puppets explained the rules. Tiara would sit on the floor, blindfolded, while the puppets floated around him, singing. When the song ended, they would ask, "Who is standing behind you?" Tiara, nervous, gave the wrong answer. As a result, he lost. One of the puppets fired a laser that gave them full control over Tiara's body. They made him slam his head into the ground over and over until he died. After Tiara's brutal death, the puppets called on Taka to take her turn. She was terrified and refused to play. The puppets warned her that if she didn't participate, she would die immediately. With no other option, Taka agreed to play. She was blindfolded, and the puppets circled around her, singing again. When they asked her the same question, "Who is behind you?" she was too scared to answer in time. The puppets declared her a loser. She tried to escape, but the puppets surrounded her. One puppet fired its laser, which forced her legs open. They began pulling her apart until her bones broke and her body was torn to pieces. The puppets then turned to Tokusa and selected her as the next player. But before she could respond, Takahata stepped forward and shouted, "I want to play instead of her." The dolls agree, and Takahata begins the game. They sing around him, then stop and ask, "Who's standing behind you?" To everyone's surprise, Takahata answers correctly. The dolls are shocked and ask how he knew. He replies, "I memorized your movements when I saw you playing with Taka and Tara." They leave the room with a key in hand. They see one of the students running with a key while being chased by one of the dolls. The student warns them, saying, "We have to hold hands. This doll kills students who are standing alone." When the doll sees them holding hands, it backs off and leaves to look for another student who's alone. Now, Takahata's group has 2 keys. They hear a noise and head in its direction. It turns out the sound is coming from Ichika, who's being chased by the doll. Takahata leaves the group and rushes to save her, grabbing her hand at the last second before the doll can kill her. Then a large wooden head appears on the wall with a countdown timer and 7 key slots. The head says that 7 people must insert the 7 keys. Takahata's group meets 2 more students, who also have 2 keys, making it 6 people with 4 keys. They need one more person and 3 more keys, with only 2 minutes left. Suddenly, someone throws the remaining 3 keys in front of them. It's Amaya, and he's accompanied by another student. Since there are 8 of them now, Amaya kills the student with him to reduce the count to 7. He says, "I only needed him to hold my hand so the doll wouldn't kill me." Takahata didn't want Amaya to join them, but he has no choice. They insert the 7 keys into the wooden head, which announces the challenge is complete and tells them to change their clothes. Then the head disappears and a tunnel opens for them. They pass through it and arrive at the next area, which is entirely covered in snow. Suddenly, the ground starts shaking, and a white polar bear appears, performing an elaborate show. Then the bear says, "I hate lies." He explains that the next challenge is based on truth. He will ask them questions, and they must answer honestly. If someone lies, the group has to identify them or choose someone to sacrifice to move on. The bear asks the first question, "What is your favorite food?" The team finds this question easy, and each person answers, but the bear says, "I smell a lie." He gives them 2 minutes to identify the liar or sacrifice someone. Suspicion falls on one student who said, "My favorite food is vegetables, because vegetables aren't a full meal." The student insists, "I'm not lying. I really love vegetables," but the team chooses to sacrifice him. The bear crushes him and kills him. The second question is, "Do you love Takahata?" Since Ichika and Tokusa have feelings for him, they both answer yes. Amaya also says yes, as do the others, but the bear says, "One of you is lying." Ichika immediately accuses Amaya, saying he doesn't care about anyone. They argue, and Takahata wonders why anyone would lie if the bear would know. The bear praises Takahata, saying, "You discovered the truth. One of you is an alien disguised as a human and has been lying since the start. You must identify and eliminate them, or you'll all die." One student accuses Tokusa, arguing, "It can't be me or my friend. We're from the same school. Takahata, Ichika, and Amaya are from the same school too. You're the only one different, so we have to sacrifice you." Takahata and Ichika defend her, but time runs out. The students from the same school as the accuser, along with Amaya, vote against Tokusa. Majority wins, and the bear crushes and kills her. Takahata is devastated by the death of his old love. All that remains of Tokusa is a pool of blood. The bear prepares to ask the next question, but Takahata stops him, saying, "I know who the liar is." The bear is surprised and listens. Takahata shocks everyone by pointing at the bear and accusing him of being the liar. He explains, "Tokusa helped me figure it out. Her blood wiped off the white powder you sprayed on yourself. Your true color is black. You were the liar and the deceiver all along. No one who died was actually lying." The bear becomes enraged at being exposed and tries to attack the students. They flee until the bear falls into a hot area. His body melts, and the white coating dissolves. Finally, he admits defeat and announces their victory. The team moves to a new location for the next and final challenge. A small doll enters, welcomes them, and announces, "This is the final challenge. One of you will be chosen, and their name will be Okuma. Ikuma will take this box and place it inside the red circle on the ground. During that time, the rest of the students must go and hide. Then, Ikuma will start searching for them. Whenever he sees someone, he'll shout their name loudly and drag them to the prison cell. That means Okuma has caught that person. If Okuma manages to imprison 3 or more students, he wins. However, if any free student manages to kick the box, all imprisoned students will be released. But there's a catch. The box contains a bomb. So if someone kicks it, the bomb will explode and that person will die. In other words, they'll be sacrificing themselves so the others can live. The last thing the dolls announce is that the challenge won't end until sunset, which is about an hour away. If the time runs out and Okuma hasn't caught at least 3 students, he loses. After the rules are explained, one of the dolls pulls out 5 sticks to choose the student who will become Okuma. Unfortunately for the others, the one chosen is Amaya, the most insane and cruel student of them all. The game begins. All the students scatter and hide. Amaya picks up the box, places it in the red circle, and runs off to start hunting. He easily finds the 2 students from the other school. They try to fight back, but Amaya is stronger and defeats them, locking them in the cell. Takahata and Ichika witness this from a distance, but Amaya also spots them and heads directly toward their location. Takahata decides to act. He ties a rope to escape through the window, but Amaya arrives quickly, and Ichika realizes they won't make it in time. She sacrifices herself to stall Amaya and lets him catch her. After capturing Ichika, Amaya rushes back to catch Takahata, but Takahata manages to flee. Knowing that Amaya will now guard the box, Takahata hides instead of running far. Amaya calls out to him loudly, pretending to offer a deal. "I already caught 3 people. We can both win," he says. But Takahata doesn't believe him. He knows it's a lie. He searches the area and finds a suit of armor. He puts it on to protect himself from the explosion in case he kicks the box. But the armor is heavy, restricting his movement, and Takahata looks ridiculous. He even drops his sword and retreats to the edge of the castle, completely defenseless. Amaya removes his helmet and mocks him, but is shocked when he realizes that Takahata has chained him. It turns out everything that happened was part of Takahata's plan. When Amaya removed his helmet, Takahata managed to tie the chain around him, keeping him from reaching the box. Takahata begins to speak, reflecting, "I used to find life boring and wanted change. But after all these games, I realized the value of the life I had. I was foolish not to appreciate it. These games made me lose my friends." Then Takahata jumps off the castle, dragging Amaya down with him. On the ground, Takahata emerges from the armor and rushes back up, while Amaya struggles to drag the heavy suit off and free himself from the chain. Takahata reaches the roof and moves toward the box to kick it. But he's exhausted and barely moving. Just as Amaya breaks free, he tries to stop him, but Takahata manages to kick the box. Everyone holds their breath, fearing the explosion, but nothing happens. It turns out there was no bomb in the box at all. Moments later, the sun sets, ending the challenge. The dolls reappear and declare Takahata the winner. They admit they lied about the bomb just to make the game more thrilling. Amaya is frustrated with his loss, thinking he was about to die. But the dolls reveal that the final challenge was just a game. No one will actually die. Fireworks light up the sky as the students celebrate surviving. The dolls hand them all ice cream as a reward for winning. Takahata eats his ice cream and chats with Ichika about what they'll do once they leave. After talking for a while, Takahata notices something written on his ice cream stick, but ignores it. However, Ichika reads the message on hers and begins to cry. Written on it were the words, "You lost, you will die." The dolls speak again, revealing that every challenge tested skill and intelligence, but in the end, fate decides who lives and who dies. They explain that each ice cream stick reveals the fate of its holder. Ichika's fate is to die. Takahata checks his own. His fate is to live. So does Amaya. The other two students, however, are also marked for death. Once fates are revealed, the dolls fire lasers at Ichika and the other two students, vaporizing and killing them instantly. And so, all the challenges and games come to an end. Takahata and Amaya are transported to the top of the flying cube above Japan, where people cheer for them as the survivors. But Takahata is devastated. He has lost his beloved Ichika. And with that, the episode ends. Help us reach 10,000 likes for this episode. If you come to the end, drop a cat emoji in the comments so we know you enjoyed it.